In this video, we're going to talk about printing to the screen as a form of output. A lot of this can be generalized to outputting to a file, which is something we'll save for another day. So we've already been using the basic command print. So we're going to say print hi, and there we go. And we've even talked about using escape sequences in order to put special characters inside our print command. Now we can use a bunch of different escape sequences in order to use other special characters. So, for example, what if you wanted that actual backslash? Backslash tells you that a special character is coming. If you wanted a backslash, use a double backslash. The first one tells the print method that an escape sequence is coming. That escape sequence is, oh, it's a backslash. You can also use different kinds of quotes. So we used a double quote up there, but you can use a single quote and get basically the same result. And this is really handy because now you can mix the types of quote marks and easily print a result that has quote marks in it. So maybe you want to say, you said, hi, John. So you put single quotes on the outside and the double quotes in the inside. And now you have a line printed with the double quotes inside. Now, if you have a very complicated sequence, then the opening quote mark is going to be terminated when you have the next single quote mark. So you need to somehow tell this print statement that you really want a quote mark here and that you're not trying to terminate the quote. So what you can do is an escape sequence. We've also used formatted strings. So we've done an example like print. So we can say A is equal to 12.2, and we can do a formatted string of, and we can do dot format and put in the A, and it inserts the variable into the curly braces. Another way to do this is to use the F before the string, and inside the curly braces use the name of the variable. And we can do this with several things. So animal is cow, and the number of animals I have, herd, is 142. And so we can say print F, I have herd number of animal. And don't worry about the grammar, it's fine. Okay, we can also do this the other way with the format string command, right? And the way we do this, there's several ways. We can just use the curly braces, number of curly braces, and then format. And inside the parentheses here, we have to put it in the right order. So it has to be herd and then animal, because if you switch the order, you would have animal, herd. Now, what if you wanted to also say cow is my favorite? Well, you would need, the way we have it right now, 3 variables right here. And so using the format string command, if you want to reuse an instance of a variable, then you can number them in the curly braces, starting with 0. So I have a certain number of cal. Cal is the 0th variable in the sequence. So I can put 0, and cal is my favorite. And then I have the one variable, the variable in one position, number of them. If you do it with the f, then you would do something similar. I have, but inside it, you'd put the variable name instead of the sequence number because you're not actually giving it a sequence of variables. I have bird number of cow. Cow is favorite. Yeah, really don't worry about the grammar here. Oops. Cow is not defined. I have to put animal. Now, one of the most valuable things to be able to do with printing either to the screen or to a file is formatting,
even in the middle,
in particular numerical values, so that they show up nicely in tables or on the screen. So, for example, if you want to say that you have money of 12.03, right? You could say
2 inches.
Print, I have money. Now there are many ways to format this now. And the way you would do that is to put a colon here and then give it some delimiters for the formatting. So for example, you could do a 2.2f, and that's telling it that it is a floating point, and you want to give 2 spaces before the decimal, 2 spaces after the decimal. Okay. If you only put a 1 there, it's not going to truncate the number because it's really giving a minimum. But if you do put a 0 there, it does truncate the number after the decimal. But we could make this much longer. We could have it give 5 decimals. And now it's giving us values of zeros because, like when we talked about the precisions of floating points, so far it's making this very close to 12.03. But if we made this 25, eventually you'd see it deviate from the 12.03. But there's rarely a situation you'd want to do that. Normally you'd want to have, in this case, the 2 cents there. Now, if you change this to 10, now you're saying that I want to have a total number of 10 characters when typing out this value. And this is a really convenient way if you wanted to have a whole column of numbers with a different number of characters. So for example, if money is now, let's say money is equal to $504.12, and we wanted to put this value, the decimal points still line up because we're giving a total of 10 characters here. There are delimiters for other types of values, but the floating point delimiters are usually the ones that you have to really work with the most. Let's give a number. Banks. So we have 3 banks. Print. I have banks. Banks. That's how many banks I have. And so if you wanted to give 3 characters for the number of banks you have, then you could do something very similar there. And that way, when you have 53 banks, it's still going to line up. But there's no decimal point there because there are no decimal points in integers. We can do the same sort of formatting with strings. For example, if you have a table of strings that you want to display so that they're all aligned, you can use these formatting techniques to do that. So let's say we have a name, Milford Turner. Sure, why not? And then you could say print, we're going to use an F type format, and you could say my name isn't, then you put name in there, right? And this is just going to print the name, or so you say. Let's put some text before and after it. I forgot to move my quote mark. There we go. And then if we want to format this so that there's space before or after, the way we use is the greater than or less than signs. So Milford Turnip Herder, well, let me just hit enter. So let's see what how many characters are already. So there's 20 characters in the name already. So if we want to give 30 characters of space, if we use the less than character, that space is going to end up on the right-hand side. But if we use the greater than character, that space is going to end up on the left-hand side. And like before, if we use a number that is smaller than the length already, it doesn't truncate the string. It just gives you the string itself. But we can start to give values, maybe we only want 25, and so it's going to give you 25 total number of characters, and it's going to pad it out with spaces. You can also display special characters using Unicode. So Unicode is a set of universal encoding that's used by basically any sort of computer system to encode different kinds of characters in basically any language, even outside of language, mathematical symbols, even emoji are now in Unicode. And you can display these. Sometimes they don't come up on the Python terminal, sometimes they do, just depends on what's in the ANSI terminal out of Unicode. But you can make use of these in your Python script that you're writing. So let's say that we would like to take the special Unicode character. So usually you do a /u, and then, so let's look up the Unicode for Greek letter alpha. There are different ways to encode a particular character. It has a specific name. You can see that there are other information here that we're not going to get to. But you can also see that you have the different types of encoding here. And what we specifically want is the hex encoding, which is the 16 encoding. So we have the /u, and so we're now going to go O3B1. And now, if you look at the letter A, you can see that it's actually displaying the letter alpha, the Greek letter. So we could say something like print f, I love my alphabets. You can do this with other types. What if we wanted the plus minus symbol for mathematics? And we see that it's 00B1. So we could just say, we don't actually have to make it an individual variable. There are different ways to do this. One, we could, in the string, give a curly brace, and then use the format. And in the format, we do a U to say that there's a Unicode formatting coming up.
how would you use this in a complete statement? So let's say I want to write out something, I am 6 feet 0 inches plus or minus 2 inches, okay? I want to write out that sentence, but the plus or minus I actually want to replace with the symbol. So pause this, take a moment, see how you might make a single print statement that includes that. I'm going to show you just one thing before we do that. So you could use the string format technique, or you can use this escape sequence, which tells you that you have a Unicode character coming up. If I want to say that I'm 6 feet 0 inches plus or minus, so far this is fine because we have double quotes on the outside, single quote there. That's going to just display fine. But if I do 0 inches, right, now it looks like I'm terminating the first quote, so I need to escape that. So now it will say I'm 6 feet 0 inches. Now I want to include the Unicode character for plus minus. Now it'll have the plus minus. And now I can put the 2 inches. And same as before, I'm going to use the escape sequence to give a double quote.
Next time we'll look at taking inputs from the user.